A brand new report has emerged that allegedly reveals the entire plot, beat by beat, of the brand new Spider-Man film, aka Spider-Man Brand New Day. So in this video, we're going to talk about Spider-Man, the villains, we're of course going to talk about the Punisher, Daredevil, and a multiverse factor. So let's get into all of this and a little bit more, because there's a lot to unpack. So as most of you guys know, details on Spider-Man Brand New Day have been changing by the month. What the film was and what was in store for us after Spider-Man No Way Home started to change literally on a monthly basis after the film released. At that time, insiders were reporting Tom Holland already had a new 6 to 9 picture deal in place. And then, of course, we found out there was no new deal in place up until literally early last year. There's been a lot of pivoting. There was Sony's plans and ideas that they wanted to put into play. So in this video, I'm breaking down everything. It's going to be a bit of a longer video. You're in for a haul, but we're going to go over everything that's reportedly happening. And this is everything I've pieced together from like 8 different scoopers and insiders that are all reporting on things that are similar and some that are slightly different but hint towards the same thing. That just goes to say that none of this is actually confirmed because none of these people have the in or the no. A lot of them are just making stuff up because they gotta sell you scoops. Other people are legitimate people in the industry that have heard specific things and are reporting on what they've heard. So just be aware that nothing here is guaranteed. I always try to say that because, again, people will watch other channels and other videos and get reports and they're convinced that everything they stated is true because they stated it. I'm simply stating this is all hearsay, rumors, speculation, and nothing more than that. So without further ado, let's get into what we know for 100% as fact. Okay, so what we know officially as a fact is that Tom Holland is, of course, back as Peter Parker's Spider-Man. We, for a fact, know that MJ is back. To what extent, we don't know, though. But we know her, and we know Peter's best friend, Ned, is also back. So this is 100% confirmed. Now, the extent of both of their roles is said to be minor, considering the story that they're telling here, and that those characters will be back in future installments with more important roles. Now, speaking of important roles, enter the one and only Frank Castle, aka the Punisher. We know that Jon Bernthal is in this, and we know that his role in this takes place after his upcoming standalone Marvel Studios special, which is said to lead directly into this, and it sort of has to, because, let's be real about this, that's the character's trajectory. So whatever happens in the Punisher special is clearly going to put him on a path to his Spider-Man appearance. Now, whether or not this is dealing with small-time crime bosses, or getting entangled in the bigger Marvel universe that puts him on the radar of some of the bigger heroes, we don't really know right now, but he's going to be a major player going forward because it's the Punisher, and while he's not the most popular character out there, he moves enough merchandise that Marvel and Disney know that he's a viable commodity. And speaking of viable commodities, Daredevil. Now, yes, while Daredevil Born Again was not a huge hit, one of the least streamed Disney Plus series, and in the running for the worst streamed Marvel series on Disney Plus, it makes a lot of sense that Daredevil might appear in this. Again, with Daredevil Born Again ending a few months before this Spider-Man film and Frank already being in it, the suggestion that Daredevil might be in this but kept secret makes a lot of sense to me. If not in a major role, in a minor role does make sense, as he already appeared in the last Spider-Man film. And again, the carryover from the Disney Plus side to the films isn't really important, as you can reintroduce the character to a whole new audience, and there's a lot of benefit to it. So even if less than the leading Marvel Studios series with 14 million views, Loki, even if less than half of that watched Daredevil Born Again, it's still fine. It's a whole new medium. It's a different take on a character, and they know how to bring these characters in for a new audience. So this could work, and they can literally pick up off the back of his appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home and just treat that as the only appearance. And for a large majority of the crowd, that's exactly what it is. So with that out of the way, let's talk about the film's villains. So if you have been keeping up with all the reports, and all the insiders are still holding steady on their reports of who the villains will be, Cosmic Circus reported that Silver Samurai and Madam Hydra would be key villains in this piece. Now, of course, we know that at least one leg of the shoot, at least we think, aims to be in Japan, but possibly doubling down for Madripoor. And if that's true, okay, Silver Samurai makes sense, as they sort of establish his whole existence and the idea of Silver Samurai in Captain America Brave New World, with Japan getting their hands on adamantium and trying to create their own super weapons. Of course, Madam Hydra was previously connected at the hip with the character, especially when it comes to the film The Wolverine, so this makes a whole lot of sense. Now, others have reported that expect to see the one and only Mr. Negative be the main villain. And again, this is adding the whole Asian culture. And reports claim that he's sort of going to be a Yakuza-style character in the MCU in New York who has ties to the mob and various other mobs. So you could see how the Punisher fits into this, as he doesn't like any mob. And with him going after multiple mob families in his special, wouldn't it make sense if at the end of it he finds out that they're all working for Mr. Negative, and this is how he gets entangled in the plot? This all literally lines itself up for perfectly including Mr. Negative. Now, along with this is the reports of the other villains. Black Cat is chief among them. Is she in this? We don't know. The Tinker might be back, but we don't know. We're also hearing that one version of Electro and or Shocker might be back. Shocker probably makes a lot more sense, as, well, we've only seen the Multiverse Electro, so okay. But also, we're hearing that Scorpion will 100% be back, and this will be the same version we saw in Homecoming. This, again, makes a lot of sense. So, in terms of expanding with how many villains, it looks like we have at least 5 to 9 villains in this film. Whether this is true or not, again, we won't know for a while, but that is quite a lot. Now, what if there was another Spider-Man to join the fight? Enter the rumors of Miles Morales. Multiple reports over the last couple of years have suggested that Miles Morales will be coming to the MCU. Now, for a fact, we know that Sony is working on a live-action Miles Morales film, but whether or not that is connected to Marvel Studios Spider-Man or not, we don't know. We do know that Miles Morales does exist in the MCU, as he was mentioned by Uncle Aaron, aka the Prowler, in Spider-Man Homecoming as his little nephew. Now, given how much time has gone by in the MCU, even if Miles was 5, he would now be 15, 16 years old by the time we get to this film. So the timeline checks out for a teenage Miles Morales while Peter becomes more of an adult. So this would line itself up. On top of this, we saw Aaron Davis in the Spider-Verse playing a live-action Prowler, which, by all accounts, might just be the MCU version. So they might have already set a sort of storyline that can play out here and the whole multiverse thing. So, again, if we look at that, I mean, why wouldn't you use Miles Morales, right? It just makes sense. And considering the fact that Spider-Man No Way Home ends with Peter Parker in his apartment, and when you hear the foreign language being spoken, Spanish, the translation is Rio Morales, the mom of Miles Morales, literally yelling for Miles. And we know that Officer Davis also exists in the MCU, and, well, his dad is Officer Morales. So there's already so many layers to Miles Morales existing that, truth be told, it's time. And even if Sony wants to do a Miles Morales film, I hope that they truly just sit down, that they work with Marvel Studios, that they hash out everything, and that they realize that if we work together, we can make the exact Spider-Man universe and projects that we want. So there's an opportunity here to give every single Spider-Man fan exactly what they want. Which brings me to the next part of this story, and that's the other Spider-Man joining. Yes, per reports, Andrew Garfield, the Amazing Spider-Man, will be back along with Spider-Man from the Raimi trilogy, played by none other than Tobey Maguire. Now, of course, we already saw them back, and reports suggest that both will be back in the third act to serve as a bridge towards Doomsday and Secret Wars, with the whole multiverse unraveling itself, which I could honestly see playing out, especially with the reports that Sadie Sink is 100% playing a daughter of one of them, and by all reports, she will be Mayday Parker to Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. This is honestly a perfect connection and the perfect opportunity for them to show the growth of that universe, but also, if Sony, as it's been rumored, wants to do a Spider-Man 4 with Tobey, it brings this concept in that then they can explore him much further in his life as we catch up with what is he doing now and his daughter as Spider-Man / Spider-Woman, Spider-Girl, or Mayday, whatever you're going to call her. Again, it just seems like a no-brainer if this is true, so I could see this playing out in a very simplistic way, with them showing up to rescue Spider-Man and warn him about the incoming incursion that also happens in their universe, and they're here to help him save his. Enter Doomsday and Secret Wars, which whenever comes next. For the Spider-Man, at least. Especially if the rumors are true that Spider-Man takes place concurrently with the events of Avengers Doomsday. Which brings me to Spider-Island. So for months, we have been hearing that the next Spider-Man film would be something like Spider-Island. Now, reports are suggesting that this might have been a mistake, and that instead, the next Spider-Man film leads into Spider-Island. AKA, by the end, we see everything unravel, and they're left essentially in a Manhattan that includes all the multiverse Spider-Men, and well, they are in Battle World now. And what Battle World is, a quick explanation, is when Doctor Doom wins Secret Wars, he rebuilds everything, because everything from every multiverse ever must be contained, because you can't kill anything off. So he restores everything into one Earth called Battle World, and essentially it's fragmented. So you have a Hulk world, you have a throwback 1602 world that keeps living, and so forth. So essentially Spider-Island might be a factor in Secret Wars, where all the Spider-Men and their villains and everybody is contained in there, and it's just all-out spider warfare. Now, this seems like a concept that's easy to explore in Secret Wars, and I would bet that if they are going to include the Spider-Man in that film, that's the exact part of the story that you would want to use, is Spider-Island. On its own, it was a pretty bland and boring and forgettable story in the comics, but Marvel tends to use just a core idea and evolve it into something that works for the MCU and reshape it, so this would honestly make a whole lot of sense for me. And what else works, because rumors are suggesting it will happen, is the Black Suit and Venom. So the Venom series is over as we know it. We know they're working on some sort of reboot, probably not set in the MCU, and we know that a piece of the symbiote was left behind in the MCU. Null has broken out of the Void, a Void which is very much prominent in the MCU with Sentry, and per reports, expect to see Tom Hardy's Venom back in Secret Wars, and also Peter getting the black suit, possibly in this film to lead into him having it for Secret Wars. So if you really think about it, this does make sense, it works, it checks off so many boxes, and if you tease him getting the suit at the end and the final swing in Spider-Man Brand New Day is showing the black suit starting to take over, everybody will be peak excited for Secret Wars and to see how it goes. Then you can play with the idea that it's turning Peter evil. You play with the idea that it's warping his mind, and that becomes a primary focus of his story in the Battle World scenario. And since reports keep suggesting that Null will be a factor, wouldn't it make sense if Null is also in Battle World? And then what we have is him sort of pulling the strings, and the other Spider-Men have to pull Peter back from his influence and the black suit? So think of it. Tobey's Spider-Man has already conquered the black suit. Andrew hasn't, but who knows, in the passage of time, maybe he has. And now we're at the part where they gotta help their Spider-Man. They gotta save him because he's gotta help the Battle World and he's gotta help the Avengers. The story just perfectly, in my opinion, fits. Which brings us to Doomsday and Secret Wars. So per all the reports out there, Avengers Doomsday runs concurrently with the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day. So the reason he's not in the film possibly till the end is because they are doing their own thing. And then Secret Wars would fold everything in and essentially serve as a finale to every single story and thing that's happening in the MCU currently. Because the idea is to reboot the MCU. And it's not a full-on reboot, it's more of a soft reboot that we're apparently looking at. So think of it like Crisis on Infinite Earths for the CW, or what DC wanted to do with their Justice League film, where essentially at the end, you get to a point where time is rewritten, elements are added into continuity, and what we get after is everything still happened. It took place, all the events are canon, but the universe has now been reshaped into a new universe. So think of Marvel looking at what James Gunn has done with Superman and saying, after Secret Wars, it's just like that. Superheroes everywhere. Things are happening. There's somebody attacking New York. Guess what? It's another Monday in Marvel's New York. Don't worry about it. And Spider-Man would, of course, be a factor in this. So think of it. Brand New Day can literally serve as the stop, the full end, the finale. And at the end, we enter a brand new day for Spider-Man that leads into Secret Wars. And then after it, Spider-Man is soft rebooted and they can bring in Miles Morales. They now got the symbiote. They now got free range to bring whoever they want. And if you think about it, multiple reports have recently suggested that they will be bringing in Norman Osborn and that Doc Ock will also be rebooted. So in a new universe, post-Sacred Timeline fracturing and then being folded back in, now these characters, just like the comics, got to get restored into the new universe. So everything sort of lines itself up for a perfect soft reboot of the MCU, with Spider-Man being a pivotal plot point, because again, Sony seems to be understanding that nobody wants to watch their standalone films. So working closer with Marvel is beneficial for them. Because, as I talked about it before, if you look at the math and do the calculations, Sony would have made more money not making a single Venom or Spider-Man spin-off film than they did making them. Think about that for a second. That's how much money they lost despite Venom being marginally profitable. So at the end of the day, oh my god, this is almost 24 minutes. I'm going to have to shave off a couple minutes off of this where I can find it. At the end of the day, this is everything we know about Spider-Man Brand New Day. Hopefully you guys enjoyed a little bit of an extensive video. I know some of you really love to get to the point in 3 to 4 minutes, but some of you love the long form where I can just sort of have more time to explain myself. So hopefully this is one of those videos that you guys enjoy. I laid everything out. Timestamps should be appropriate. So thank you for listening. Take care, and let's get excited because Spider-Man is hitting next year. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will. And if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching and have a good one.